history of it a little bit. The biscuit or plate joiner was invented in 1956 by a Swiss carpenter. His name was Hermann Steiner. And he was looking for a way to join the recently introduced shipboard together to each other, rather than the old way of the oars and tendon. And what he came up with was a simple system of slots, like biscuits, and slots and football-shaped wedges. And this device here controls the angle, and this controls the depth of your cuts. So what he called that system was, at first he called it the metal joining system, but today we call it biscuit joiner. And further developments followed, such as the invention of a circular saw blade into it and its portal capability. And eventually he incorporated the idea into the company Lamello AG in 1969 with his family. And the company continues to this day to produce very high quality joiners, like the Lamello Classic X, which is like a really expensive one. It's like $1,200, but it's got a lot of options, like depth adjustments and stuff like that. And they also research other more unique and different ways to make biscuits. Like there's clamp biscuits and stuff like that, like really, really cool stuff. And basically they still continue to revolutionize the industry. And one of the really cool safety features of this thing is that the blade is concealed, which is actually really cool because it only is activated when you push into it. So it makes it pretty safe, but make sure that your work is clamped down and everything's nice and tight, because you don't want it to slip, because if it does, this thing revolutions at like freaking like 11,000 RPM. So like that will cut you really, really good. And you should also wear like PPE obviously, and a dust mask, because cutting through MDF, which most of the time that's what it does, make cabinetry and stuff like that, it's gonna kick up a lot of dust. And like you don't want that in your lungs, because it's MDF is compressed wood chips, and it's glued under high pressure, and you don't want that stuff in your lungs. And
yeah, the PPE you typically use would be, like Paul said, a dust mask is important. You want to use eye protection as well as hearing protection, because it is pretty loud cutting through the wood. It shoots the dust out on the right-hand side here, so I don't know, maybe keep yourself out of the way of that, just to try to keep the dust flow down. You can also get attachments, little dust bags and things. Statistically speaking, we've got a standard low end, sort of a DeWalt here, probably be $200 to $300 or something like this. If you want, like Paul was saying, the Lamello Classic X, it's got a lot more features, adjustments, attachments, and things. You can cut at wider angles, different size blades and stuff, and that runs at like $1,200, which is like the nicest one. Paul again mentioned it spins at between 10 and 11,000 RPM typically, which is pretty fast for something with really big teeth like that. So I imagine if you somehow got your finger in there, it would just rip it right off really quickly. Most biscuit joiners have a 4-inch blade size, and the arbor in the middle of the blade there is about 7/8 thick, or 22 millimeters, specified here in the notes. 6 or 8 teeth is also quite often seen, but I think this one might. No, this is a 6 tooth. You also see them in 4 teeth. And it kind of depends on the material you're cutting into, but typically, again, it's used for particle board or MDF. Procedure you want to use when you're using a biscuit joiner would be, you want to make sure when you're plunging into the wood, you're really flat. You want to use the base here to make sure you're flat and consistent. You want to make sure that's locked as well. Or if you're cutting at an angle, move it to your angle. It's on the side there. Let's see, you want 45 degree. Tighten her up. Same idea, basically. But if you're cutting at a thicker angle, you want to make sure you're not going to blow right through the material. You want to thick enough material to join properly. You want to pick out the number of boards you need. They all need to be the same thickness. And then mark the location you want to join. If you look online, there's like a whole bunch of different procedures to figure out like strength of joining, but something this size, if you put 1 and 1, that'd probably be enough. Online it says, leave the space in a little bit better on either side before you put another one. You want to make sure your spacing is wide enough. you clamp your work down to avoid slipping and maybe cutting the wrong material or your bench or yourself. Gauging by the size of the biscuit, usually like the 4-inch cross, kind of goes with the plunge, that all works out. You want to align your marks, put the center line on here before you plunge in. Pretty simple. Then you take material up. I like to, instead of put glue on the biscuit, find it's a bit of a pain, I just put the glue right in the slot and then put the biscuit in, let it ooze out, get everywhere, and then wipe it off after with a damp rag. Yeah, then you just basically do the same procedure, line everything up, line up your lines, join everything, put all your boards together, and then you're pretty much have a finished product. People who use the biscuit joiner would be carpentry, obviously, and a lot of cabinet makers, things like that. Great thing about the biscuit joiner is it doesn't require precision cutting. The biscuits are hidden, so the slot being larger than the biscuit doesn't really matter, it's not a big deal. Material can be slid and aligned with ease, but once you're joining two pieces, you can kind of slide them back and forth to make sure everything's nice and flush. And yeah, adjustable fence for miring and for doing cabinet doors and things like that. Any Paul?
Sure. Okay, so basically some of the uses, joining two boards together to make a countertop, mark the center line like Brandon said, and just have your biscuits between the middle of the boards and join together. The slot's actually bigger than the biscuit, so you can glue it together, slide it, and align it afterward. You don't have to worry about gluing so fast that you won't be able to adjust it afterward. It's good for picture frame mitering. You can just cut halfway through here and join together, and very, very strong biscuit slot. And it's also good for making covered butt joints. You can take one board across your MDF and join it right there on the vertical, and that's how they build covers. I think we're pretty good.
We're a little short on time, so
Short on time?
talk about how important it is to make sure your weight's distributed evenly when you're joining. If you're at an angle and you could possibly blow up through there, and if you look online, everyone seems to not clamp their work down. They put their hand over here and they just give her. Again, if you're a professional or you're confident, whatever, personally, I would always clamp my work down, make sure it's really secure, keep my hands behind the fence. Just really want to make sure your weight's distributed horizontally with your stock that you're using, or if you're at an angle, at the right angle, Paul, could you hold it up for if you're using an end one, I always try to keep it away from myself, maybe do the little wrist thing like he was showing you. And just like that, but you want to make sure your weight's distributed properly along the fence again, and when you plunge in, the blade will come out like that, right into your stock and back out, blowing the material out here. So you don't want to, put your face right in there, get that in the eye, just kind of pour it into your buddy's face. Just try to plan ahead and make sure you're safe, and pretty simple tool to use.
We're done?
We're close, yeah.
How many minutes?
9, 10?
7? Magic number 7?